I just sat here moments ago and watched the playoff rankings get released. As you're listening live, it is Tuesday night, and I don't ever watch it. And so I've been able to see bits and pieces of it, but I've never watched it in totality. I got to be real with you. I don't know how you guys stomach the explanations, or lack thereof, that are given by that committee chair. Dude's name is Boo. I'm sure he's great to hang out with in real life, but there is no logic. There is no connectivity between what I'm told the criteria is/are for the rankings and what comes out of his mouth. So you either got one of two things. You either got a guy who doesn't know what's going on, and I don't think that's the case, or the second part is you've got someone who has very set and defined criteria, and they're figuring it out, or computers are figuring it out for them in that big room down in Grapevine, Texas, and they just march out there and shoot filler out of their mouths, and whatever happens will end up happening. And it really just reaffirms to me why I never watched that until the very end. So what's going to happen here? I think what's going to happen is we will have multiple undefeated teams fall this weekend. Spoiler alert, because we're predicting the games later in the show. What do we have right now? We got Michigan undefeated. Probably not going to be one of them. We got Georgia undefeated. We got FSU undefeated. We got Washington undefeated. Odds are very strong. At least one of them's going down. I think more than one undefeated is going down, as I will talk about later in the show. So I do believe we will get some chaos, and then the natural follow-up questions are, well, who gets slotted where? If Georgia loses, are they out? Is a debate it's pretty heavily contested on the old social channels right now. If Alabama does beat Georgia, are they in? If Oregon wins, are they automatically in? If Florida State wins, are they automatically in? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I will tell you there is no substitute. There is no substitute for actually watching Conference Championship Saturday. What I mean by that is we're watching folks waste a lot of precious oxygen right now debating hypotheticals. What if this happens? Then that happens. Then what happens to so-and-so? And the thing about it is it's all fun, and it looks good on graphics, and you can sketch it out on the back of a pizza box. But you know as well as I do, when you watch football games happen, funny things can pop into your mind. Let me just paint you a little picture. Let's just say some chaos does start to unfold this Saturday. Let's say, for example, Michigan wins, as most people expect they will. Let's say Oregon wins Friday night. So they win a hard-fought game against Washington. They win by 10 points. The spread's 9.5. Let's say they win by 10 points. All right? Let's say a Florida State goes down. So you get your upset there. That's not out of the realm of possibility. The spread is 2.5 right now on that game at FanDuel. But let's say that Alabama beats Georgia. Let's say the upset does happen in the SEC title game. And Texas wins the Big 12. So basically, a lot of people have told you, well, if that happens, Michigan's in. And if that happens, Texas is in. Yeah, I agree so far. And if that happens, we're going to have to put Oregon in, right? Yeah, I think so, yeah. But I'm sitting here asking you, what if that SEC championship game, instead of just playing out in the hypothetical world like you've suggested, what if it's some jarring result? What if it's like 34-13 Alabama? No one has considered that because it's really, really far over here, close to being out of the realm of possibility, but not totally. What would happen is it would jar you. It would totally hit the reset button. It would be like taking the Etch-a-Sketch and moving from left to right. It erases everything you sketched on that hypothetical pizza box, and you would say, they just beat Georgia handedly? They beat my number one team handedly. I can't leave them out. And the same people saying that, in many cases, would have been saying the morning of Conference Championship Saturday, well, Oregon won last night, so they're in. Bama will not win a head-to-head over Georgia tonight, or Oregon tonight, even if they take down Georgia. And my point is, I don't ever do the hypothetical thing a whole lot until I see the games, in which case it's no longer hypothetical, because I remember 2014. 2014, I was at the SEC title game, but that wasn't the biggest, point of contention that night. That was when Ohio State was a short underdog against Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, and they were on the outside looking in, and it was a widely held consensus that there just isn't a path for Ohio State. Then they won against Wisconsin, but that's not it. They won 59-0 against Wisconsin. And what happened was everybody's Etch-a-Sketch got wiped clean. Everything you thought, Every hypothetical you had drawn out, it got wiped clean. And over the span of about 2 hours, the sentiment went from Ohio State's not even in regardless of whether they win or lose to we literally can't keep this team out. How can you keep that team out? And so there is one thing that I'm very steadfast in. I think that FSU's in if they win. I'm not hearing that argument. I'm not hearing the conversation of, well, we don't think they'd be one of the 4 best teams. I just am not interested in that. I don't think they are either, guys. I don't think they'd be one of the 4 best teams either. But that's why I wish that committee a long time ago would have changed the wording, because we're not looking simply for the 4 best teams. That's not what that tournament's about. It's blending best and most deserving. And Florida State would be a point spread underdog to about 10 other teams, even if they win Saturday. But they belong in that playoff, because if you're trying to look for best, you might as well let Las Vegas seed the tournament. And honestly, you don't need to play a lot of these games because the outcomes on the field aren't going to matter, because that's how you get best. Like, Georgia could lose 2 games. They could play twice Saturday and lose both games. They would never fall out of Las Vegas' top 4. So, like, what are we talking about? And I've had that debate a lot, and I'm not going to have it again tonight. Florida State's in. I don't really find much value in debating that. But the resume reset, that's really what I'm interested in. You know, because I was just doing an HQ hit earlier before I came on air to do our show. And I was listening to, you know, some of the voiceovers being done in break. And I was listening to them talk about the Pac-12. And, you know, one of the voiceovers was indicating that, hey, the Pac-12 looks like they're going to have a representative one way or the other. And I get that. If Washington wins, they're in. If Oregon wins, are they guaranteed to be in? The logic tells you yes, because right now they're ranked ahead of Texas and Alabama. And so you figure, hey, man, even if Bama and Texas and Oregon all win, they're certainly not going to jump Oregon, are they? Well, that's where I wonder about the resume reset thing. You know, first off, I wonder, what is the value of having a win against number 1? You know, Alabama's the only one who has a shot to say that. Number 2, I wonder how wide the gap is. You know, I was a fan of the idea that that committee should have just put Oregon, Texas, and Bama in a 3-way tie at 5th. And you say, Josh, they can't do that. Who says? They make up the rules as they go anyway. I would have put Ohio State right where they are, and I would have put Texas, Bama, and Oregon in no order behind them, because that would indicate, hey, they're dead even. No one's jumping anyone. They're starting from the same point, and you know what? If Bama loses, it's a moot point. If Texas and Oregon have to have this head-to-head, then you know what? It's probably going to come down to how they looked last Saturday, and then we put resumes next to each other. I don't get the resume thing because I'm looking at them right now. And you guys are more schooled on this than I am, because I really do not immerse myself in this until the last week. I swear to you, I dove into the resumes for the first time seriously last night, and I got what a lot of you have been arguing about. I haven't bothered with it until now, because I thought upsets would happen and it would clear it up, but it hasn't. They haven't. So I dove into the resumes and I looked and I wondered, as much respect as I got for Oregon, I got them number 2 in the JP poll. I'm going to show you later tonight. So I got immense amounts of respect for Oregon, but independent of how good the team is, I was looking at the resumes. Oregon should be behind Texas and Alabama right now. At least that's what it looked like to me, based on resumes, based on, you know, the criteria that they claim to value. So I have no clue how to make sense of that. I get it, though. I'd heard you guys arguing about that, and I did not get it. And then I took a look for myself, and I get it. So anyway, will that hold firm? Or, you know, what if Oregon wins Friday night, and we'll be there. We'll be on the sideline for that game. But then we'll also be on the sideline Saturday for Alabama, Georgia. And what if an outcome happens that you don't think is possible? What if Bama just wins by 20 or something like that? It's crazy, but it's not impossible. Then all of a sudden, you'd rethink everything you thought you knew about how that head-to-head would be handled. I don't know. Even though we have, 1 weekend left, we got a lot that's still to be determined.